You're talking about blaming Jews for communism. Weren't there Jews, Karl Marx, and in fact...
Absolutely. Karl Marx was a Jew, converted Jew. He got converted to Christianity, like Disraeli in Great Britain, for one reason or another. Karl Marx was a racist, by the way. There was a lot of Jews in the Soviet Union who were like at the grassroots of the Bolshevik revolution of 1917. Why? Simple reason, because for 100 years, like I said, like I mentioned before, anti-Semitism in Russia, even in Tsarist Russia, before the Soviet Union, before the revolution, it was always institutionalized. They hate Jews. They always blame. There was a famous slogan in Russia, in the Soviet Union: "Beat up the Jews, save Russia." That was the famous slogan. Like, "Бей жидов, спасай Россию." I said that in Russian. So basically, that's what happened. And Jews were forced to live in the Pale of settlements for the hundreds of years. That meaning that they couldn't leave this settlement. They were forced. They've been constantly raped by the Slavs. They were constantly robbed, mugged by the Slavs. They were constantly beaten up. They were constantly killed by the Slavs. And that's why they were eager. They were like... earning for changes, and that's how they start getting drunk with this Marxist ideas, because Karl Marx's manifesto was written in 1848, and there was actually 1848. There was like the series of revolutions run across Europe, and by the end of 19th century. So the entire Europe was drunk with the Marxism and socialism and idea of revolution, and that's what happened in the Soviet Union. And a lot of Jews supported that because they saw that as a way out. Instead of living all your life in the Pale of settlement, be always under constant threat, being beaten up, killed, etc., robbed. You know, the Jews were always good business people. Like, they always could make money, and that's why they've been robbed all the time, and that's why they've been hated all the time throughout the history. Not even in the Soviet Union, but throughout the Europe, like, you know, since medieval times. So
they had no choice, right? They weren't allowed to own land in Europe.
Right, exactly. Except the first country, by the way, was Italy, is surprisingly. And a lot of Jews became the members of the fascist party of Mussolini, because the same thing happened in Italy. Mussolini said, we can't fight those red bastards because they're in every corner. Talking about the socialists, so we gotta beat them up. Nothing. We can reason with them. We can democratically reason with them because there's like in every corner. And a lot of Jews joined the fascist party because there was on the scale, like, either you lose everything what you earn, or to socialists, or you're going to be proud Italian. And a lot of Jews were proud Italians. And by the way, in Italy, Jews, it was the first country in Europe that gave the equal citizenship to Jews in Italy. And that's why, a lot of Jews were patriotic to Italy. But having said that, a lot of Jews in the Soviet former Russia, they rise up because of the Pale of settlement, and they got tired of that constant anti-Semitism. They thought that that's the way out. And a lot of Jews who were like at the grassroots, like Trotsky. A lot of people heard about Trotsky, who got killed in Mexico in 1940, who was a lover of Frida Kahlo, the famous painter. So he was. A lot of Jews were the pioneers, the trailblazers of the revolution.
And they didn't do it in the name of Judaism. When people say
no. As a matter of fact, they almost denounced Judaism. They became atheists because Karl Marx said about the revolution. Karl Marx said religion is the opiate for the masses. That's his famous phrase, and that's exactly what he said. And
then they blame the Jew in Karl Marx, but he wasn't doing anything in the name of.
Exactly. Like I said, Karl Marx got converted. He was a gigolo. He was living up on his father's money, or Engels' money, Freidrich Engels' money. So basically, and that's what he was, a utopian guy. He was a philosopher. He was a diabolical genius, like Stalin, like Lenin, like Hitler. They're all geniuses, but very diabolical, very evil geniuses, and
like Soros.
Right, exactly. Soros, exactly. Soros is a schmuck. But
when people allege, of course, many people use Soros as a justification for anti-Semitism, but Soros doesn't do anything in the tradition of Judaism or in the teaching?
Of course not. Like Bernie Sanders, nothing even close to Judaism. Look what they talk about Palestine. They said Israel needs billionaires and millionaires will pay for that. Israel needs to stop oppressing Palestinians. That's what he said. He said Israel needs to stop practice of racism and discrimination. Bernie Sanders, that schmuck, said that. This is so frustrating. And of course they don't say anything about that. Of course they are the self-hating Jews. I had a professor. I'm a CSUN graduate. I graduated CSUN.
That's Cal State University?
Yes. And I had a self-hating Jew professor in my history class, a British Empire. He was, he was a despicable person. He was a so-called, they love to call themselves professors. So I used the paper, the theme for my paper, for my essay, was Jews and a British Empire, Judaism, Jews and British Empire. And he's like, why do you want to do this? Why don't you want to do Morgan Rebellion of 1862? Why don't you want to do 1854 Indian Mutiny? And I told him, I'm a Jew, I'm a proud Jew, and I want to do the research about Jews and British Palestine, and then British Mandate, and that's it. And he didn't like that. And I ended my essay. There is 57 Muslim countries, there is a lot of Christian countries, and there's only one Jewish state, and it belongs to us. He crossed it out and wrote egregious. So, and control your opinion, Dmitry. Also in his comments, I have this paper still in my, in my drawer. So that's exactly what I'm talking about. Self-hating Jews. They look at the Bernie Sanders. He's basically kissing butt of Ayok, Ilham Omar, Talib, Rashida Talib, and Presley, all these anti-Semites. Talib is a Palestinian, American Palestinian. Look at her map in her office. There's no Israel has no right to exist. So, and he is with them. That's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
So this notion of anti-Zionism that your teacher, who happened to be Jewish, but obviously but not Zionistic, he's Jewish. Is this a concept that Gentile educators in academia also echo?
Pretty much. You onto something. You onto something. Because I tell you what, it is because sometimes it's either they are so steeped in their mind with anti-Semitism that they start believing in that, number one. And number two, they become so ignoramus. I even give you another example. I'm back to college right now because, like I said, I can't teach anymore. I can take those snowflakes. I can take PC. I don't teach PC crap. I teach history as it is. I call a spade a spade. So that's why I want to do, change of hearts. I came back to college doing journalism, and one of the Valley College, as a matter of fact, and give you a simple example about Judaism and Jewishness and colleges. One of the professors there, he's really professor, Dr. Zev Garber, great professor, the well of knowledge. He's 80 years old, he's emeritus professor, and he started Jewish program in Valley College in 1969. He told me that was 20 classes in 1920. It was a whole department of Jewish studies in Valley College. 20 classes, including Yiddish. Now, there's only one class. Only one class left. Why? Because first of all, they I don't know. See, that's a good question. Why?
Maybe they don't have so many Jewish students anymore.
They do. Well, first of all, they do students there. But because they have cutting funds, number one, allegedly cutting funds, number one. Number two, they prefer to have all this, what do you call that, critical race theory classes like that.
Critical race theory?
Yeah, that's the class that they came up with. They talked recently about that, Kamala Harris. So they have black classes, they have Chicano studies, they have this classes, they have that classes, very few Jewish classes. And I met him, then I took his Jewish studies class. It was only one class. And then, he wanted to have a Hebrew class. But for some reasons, in the Valley College, they didn't want to put the Hebrew class into the catalog, into the list of the classes. So there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of stuff that.
You think there's prejudice?
It is very prejudiced. Jewish, because, look at all the colleges, especially in California, especially in those blue states, those coastal states, New York, Massachusetts, California, all this class, Illinois. They have horrible anti-Semitism on campuses, and that's exactly why Donald Trump made this order and made this law, passed this law, signed this law that fighting the anti-Semitism on college campuses because it was unbearable. I'll give you another example. I was driving my car. I was going to CSUN. My days at CSUN, I was driving a car with an Israeli flag. It was vandalized. It was vandalized on the very first day, that I came to CSUN. So basically anti-Semitism. Basically, anti-Semitism is on the rise, and I'm not going to say like those liberal hacks and scumbags say we have systemic racism in the United States. Cops are systemically racist. Bullshit. Excuse my French, but we have. I'm not going to say we have systemic anti-Semitism, but anti-Semitism is on the rise on the Democratic Party. It's inside the Democratic Party. Democratic Party was always the party of KKK, slavery, Jim Crow, and et cetera, you name it.
It was also for civil rights in the 60s.
Well, as a matter of fact, they said there were, but not exactly, because it was Eisenhower in 1957 who passed that civil rights bill. It was him. And then was John Kennedy, and then it was obviously LBJ. But it started from 1957. Moreover, then LBJ signed that was passed the Civil Rights Act. Every single Republican voted for it, and a lot of Democrats voted against that. And so they said, all that crap but you know what I mean, this is not a Democratic, it's not the Democratic Party anymore. So like they do the switcheroo, and now Republicans say, hey guys, we're going to be the Democrats, now you're going to be Republicans. You want to do the switcheroo? Yeah, sure, let's do that. No, it wasn't like that. Obviously, it wasn't like that. So it was just people moved to South states, Republicans, they got married, they have babies, and they became conservative, and that's how it became. South became Republican, not because they switched, but because a lot of people moved there. A lot of people are born. So basically, that's exactly what happened, and it's on the rise in the Democratic Party. Like I said, it's not even a secret anymore. If you listen to Talib, it's all about Omar. It's all about Benjamins and all that stuff that she's making accusations of the Jewish state, and Talib. Like I said, she doesn't believe that Israel has rights for its existence. That's exactly what's happening right now, and that's.
What concern do you have that if the Democrats take over the White House, that anti-Semitism will grow?
Just like the same thing what happened in the Soviet Union. The reason that anti-Semitism is not in China or North Korea, because there are not too many Jews in North Korea and China. So socialism, it's equal to anti-Semitism, because Jews were always, and fascism, and now not necessarily fascism, but I'm talking about Nazis, like Nazi Germany. So that's exactly what happened. And since we have a significant number of Jews in the United States, it can be very alarming. It can be very alarming because, like I said, socialism. It's because Jews historically they were always part of intelligentsia, and if you're intelligentsia, you become independent, and that's what the socialists don't like for you to be independent. This Communist Party, no God, no independence, no cars, no houses, only Communist Party. Only Communist Party. That's your God, that's your car, that's your house, and everything else. So that's why, and the Jews, historically, they independent, intelligentsia, and that's why, and even, I don't know if you heard about